Now, we just gave examples of the alternative sources of fuel. We talked about the solar energy from the sun. We have the hydroelectric power from the water, turning of the turbines. We have the wind power generated because of the blowing of the wind. And we also have the hydrogen power cell. All these particular forms of energy are quite easily available and can easily be regulated. That means that we can be able to use them continuously as long as we're able to supply. For example, the wind always blows. We have no control over the wind blowing. And that means that when you have a system that can be able to convert the strong winds into productive energy, then you are ready to go. We have hydroelectric power from the water bodies. Some countries have come up with what we call the dams that can be able to establish a waterfall where the turbine is seated. And then when the water flows over the turbines will rotate and generate the energy required. Now, let's measure on the hydrogen fuel cell. That's how it looks like. In this part, we have the hydrogen gas coming in. And you can see we have a system of coiled wires that form what we call the anode. And then we have on the opposite side a system of the coiled wires also forming the cathode. And then in addition to that, we have oxygen coming in. So we have hydrogen coming in and then oxygen coming in, which means within the system that is in here, we have a thin membrane separating the cathode and the anode. So the oxygen can be able to pass through and the hydrogen can be able to pass through, and then they interact. When there is interaction between the two, heat is given out. That is the energy that we're going to be using. Then the advantage is that when the hydrogen combines with the oxygen, chemically, water is formed and water is taken out of the system. Now, that water in itself is less harmful, but the amount of energy produced in this particular case will be highly immense. So we have heat given out in this particular part, heat also given out on the opposite side. That means that when the hydrogen gets into this particular part, a reaction takes place, heat is given out. When the oxygen finds its way up to this particular point, more heat is given out. So a lot of energy is generated by the system. Now, the hydrogen is considered as the best fuel. The hydrogen cell is considered to be the best fuel because it burns air and is able to produce water, which is a harmless product. I just mentioned that the product given out does not destroy the environment. Unlike the fossil fuels, when the fossil fuels burn, for example, when coke or the coal burn or the petrol, they give out carbon 2 oxide, which is poisonous. They also give out carbon 4 oxide, sulfur 4 oxide gas to the atmosphere, which are very harmful within the environment. Now, the hydrogen cell also has the highest heating value compared to the rest of the fuels when it undergoes complete combustion. That means it has a very high amount of energy. We are talking about heating value. What does it mean? Now, the heating value is actually the amount of energy given out when 1 gram of a fuel is burned. When you're talking about heating value of a fuel, then you're talking about the maximum amount of energy given out when a fuel burns. So the amount of energy given out by 1 gram of hydrogen is the highest compared to all the rest of the fuels. So if you have, let's say, 1,000 tons of hydrogen, then you'll have produced a lot of energy that can be able to run very many different industries. Now, the easiest way to obtain this hydrogen is through the electrolysis of water, which actually produces a lot of hydrogen, because in the water we have H2O. H2O undergoes electrolysis, resulting to formation of oxygen and hydrogen. So practically, you have both the oxygen being obtained and the hydrogen fuel it will require at the same time, which is very economical to use. The hydrogen power cars have so far been developed. I'm sure those who have been very keen on the internet, you must have seen that we have a lot of development and innovation going on in the world. For example, in Japan, we have what we call the Nissan and the Mazda. These are very common vehicles in markets all over the world, but they were developed in Japan. Hydrogen-powered cars. We're not talking about those ones which are diesel-based or the petrol-based. These are hydrogen-powered cars. We also have the BMW and the Daimler-Benz, which were developed in Germany, implying that the country or the whole world is actually doing a lot of research to be able to benefit from this particular hydrogen. Now, the Japanese model cars burn hydrogen in the engine. In the Japanese type, the hydrogen is actually burnt in the engine, but in the German BMW or the one used in the Switzerland or the British BMW models, they normally use what you call the hydrogen fuel cell. They use what they call the hydrogen fuel cell. That means they have inbuilt fuel cell where the hydrogen gas is directed to, and then it is decomposed that particular section. Now we have some advantages of the hydrogen fuel. One is that it can be renewed if it is produced using solar energy. We can be able to renew this. Though also it has a lower flammability compared to petrol. That means it's not very flammable. It doesn't catch up the fire quite easily, unless if it's ignited. But petrol will easily catch the fire. Then the other advantage is that it does not produce the harmful emissions, such as carbon 4 oxide, sulfur 4 oxide, carbon 2 oxide to the atmosphere. Remember that the other fuel cells normally produce a lot of the harmful gases which are given to the atmosphere. But the hydrogen cell normally produces water which is harmless to the environment. And then it is a non-toxic fuel when it is used as compared to the other fuels. The hydrogen as a gas is non-poisonous. Therefore, it will be very comfortable even for the driver when he's in the vehicle to use that as a fuel. Now, the advantages of the hydrogen fuel is that it can become non-renewable if it is generated using what you call nuclear energy or energy from fossil fuels. Now, if you generate this hydrogen fuel using the nuclear energy, that means you'll be generating this particular hydrogen power. Then you will be able to cause its extinction. It will be depleted. That's why it will actually become non-renewable. But if you continue generating it using the solar energy, then you'll still be having it. It requires a very large tank to be able to store enough of the fuel. Unlike the normal petroleum tanks, where it's just a small tank, can be able to hold enough fuel, this one will require a very large tank for storage. So be able to use this particular fuel for long. The filling stations are also not very common. There are very few. I don't know how many of us have been able to go to the petrol filling stations and find the place where what you call the filling of hydrogen. In our country, of course, we don't have one, and most of the countries also don't have any. Even in Japan, where we have the hydrogen-powered vehicles, they are also very few, because it's not a very common technology. So you might, if you get a vehicle that is hydrogen-powered, you might experience a problem of finding the filling stations where you require the fuel for use. Then the use of the hydrogen fuel also requires what we call the redesigned form of the engine that fits the fuel cell system. That means the engine also must be redesigned in such a way that is able to accommodate the functioning of the hydrogen fuel cell. Unlike the normal engines, that one has to have a special way of making it. That means it must have the channels that go to the tank itself containing the fuel, and should also have a mechanism of burning up this fuel and then converting that fuel into electric energy or into heat energy. So there's a lot of organization that must be done to the engine so that it can be able to work very well with what we call the hydrogen fuel cell. And then also there is a problem with the expenses. You know, hydrogen is normally very, very expensive to obtain. And not only obtain, but also to run. It's one of the most expensive fuels that we have on the globe. So because of that, it might not be economical for any country that needs to invest in it because of its expenditure. That explains why, although the innovation is known worldwide, but its expansion is very slow because of the cost. Even the countries which have developed it are only doing this for a purpose of maybe demonstration, just innovation to see that this thing can also work. But if they were serious, they would have had massful production of these particular vehicles to be sold all over the world. But because even if the Japanese were to produce a lot of Nissan, hydrogen-powered Nissan vehicles to save the whole world, the problem will be the rest of the world don't have the mechanism of producing this hydrogen as a fuel. So it still becomes or remains a limiting factor in the usage of the hydrogen fuel as a fuel in the vehicles. So that is how the functioning of the hydrogen fuel goes. And remember that is one of what we call the renewable source of energy that can replace the fossil fuels, which become very extinct very fast when they are overused. Thank you very much for being with me throughout the entire lesson. Let's meet in the Google Classroom for more engagement. Have a good day.